Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into it, okay? Today, we're conducting a complete forensic audit of the human nervous system. We're hunting down an ancient biomechanical hack. What we're doing here is looking at source material that bridges the gap between ancient Hebrew texts and cutting-edge neurobiology. And we're doing this to figure out how we can actively seize control of our own biology.
So for years, modern wellness has basically told us to just think our way out of stress. We've been told to sit quietly, observe our thoughts, rationally manage our anxiety, you know the drawl. But what if you're actually locked out of your own biological temple? Seriously, what if trying to outthink your panic is literally like trying to put out a grease fire with a spreadsheet? Well, the source text we're looking at suggests that the key to ultimate calm doesn't start up in your prefrontal cortex at all. It actually starts right in your throat. Okay, so let's meet the villain of our story. It's the default mode network, or the DMN for short. Think of the DMN as your brain's extremely micromanaging internal CEO. According to the research, your nervous system is currently hijacked by this rigid biological manager, and it's basically running your body at 3,000 RPM in chronic fight-or-flight mode. It generates this constant, anxious, high-frequency beta wave hum. It's your inner critic. It's the ego narration. It's that part of you that's constantly scanning the room for social and physical threats, which completely deafens your mind to any sort of intuition or peace. So to put it simply, there are two operating states for your biology. Most of us are completely trapped in the biological threat room. This is your sympathetic nervous system. In here, you're flooded with cortisol, your breathing is fast and shallow, and you have this incredibly narrow survival-based focus. The huge problem here is that true clarity, deep repair, and spiritual receptivity, they only happen over in the reception room. That's the parasympathetic system. That's where the vagus nerve is activated, breathing slows way down, and the brain enters a highly receptive theta state. And here is the kicker. You absolutely cannot access the reception room while your CEO is sounding the alarm.
But there is a massive vulnerability in this system. Things like your heart rate, digestion, body temperature, those are locked safely behind an autonomic firewall, right? You can't just will your heart to slow down. However, respiration is this massive anomaly in human biology. It is the single autonomic function that comes with a manual override. The exact second you decide to seize manual control of your breath, you exploit a literal hardware bypass in your nervous system.
Section 1. Hagah The Somatic Growl.
Modern meditation relies entirely on silent cognitive thought to calm the mind. It's passive, it's mental. But the ancient practice of Hagah, it uses physical, acoustic vibration to violently bypass the brain's gatekeeper. It is highly vocal, it is very active, and it is a deeply somatic physical experience. You aren't just sitting there thinking peaceful thoughts, you're physically vibrating your anatomy to force a chemical change. And this brings us to a really fascinating linguistic revelation. So in polite English translations of the Bible, the Hebrew word Hagah is usually just translated as meditate, which makes us picture, a quiet scholar in a dusty library. But the root word Hagah actually translates to a low, continuous murmuring or growling. It is the exact word used to describe a predator possessing its kill. It's possessive, it's absorptive, and it is highly vocal. You're meant to literally chew on the words, growling them deep in the back of your throat.
All right, Section 2, the 15x nitric oxide surge.
The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is this massive multiplier, 15x. When you produce that continuous resonant growl or hum on your exhale, the acoustic reverberation in your paranasal sinuses spikes the production of a molecule called nitric oxide by a staggering 15 times. You are essentially turning your own skull into an ultrasonic core.
So what does this massive chemical surge actually do? It acts as a miracle vasodilator. Nitric oxide aggressively expands your blood vessels. It sanitizes your respiratory tract, it heavily enhances oxygen uptake in your blood, and it massively supports your immune and circulatory health. Basically, you are chemically enforcing peace onto your animal survival instincts. You aren't politely asking your anxiety to leave, you are literally changing the biochemical makeup of your bloodstream to force it out. Section 3, Acoustic Vagus Nerve Massage.
Okay, let's meet the vagus nerve. This is the longest cranial nerve in your entire body. It runs all the way from your brainstem, right down through your throat, into your heart, your lungs, and all the way down into your gut. Think of this nerve as the biological brake pedal for your entire system. And because it runs right past your vocal cords, the sustained acoustic wave of that Hagah growl gives this nerve a deep tissue sonic massage.
Every single physical action in this protocol has an immediate biological reaction. The acoustic wave from your vocal cords, it completely drowns out the verbal chatter of your inner critic. The physical vibration in your sinuses, that creates the 15x nitric oxide surge we just talked about. But maybe most importantly, the acoustic massage on the vagus nerve forces it to dump acetylcholine directly into your bloodstream. Acetylcholine is literal biological brake fluid. The second it hits your system, your heart rate instantly plummets. And because you biologically cannot hold on to a complex, anxious thought while your cranial cavity is physically vibrating, your brainwaves are forced to shift gears. This intense internal vibration forces the brain's electrical activity to entrain rapidly. It drops right out of that anxious, high RPM beta state, coasts through the calm alpha bridge, and settles directly into the highly suggestible, visionary theta pocket. Section 4. Bypassing the brain's CEO. Now, here is exactly how this hardware bypass works. By using sustained, extended exhales through the growl, you completely alter your oxygen and carbon dioxide ratios. This causes your blood pH to temporarily spike, creating a state called respiratory alkalosis. Because your blood is suddenly more alkaline, the blood vessels leading to your prefrontal cortex gently constrict. And the result? The rigid default mode network, that anxious CEO generating all your stress boundaries, is temporarily starved of blood flow and just goes completely offline. With that analytical gatekeeper fully neutralized, something truly incredible happens. Your brain begins communicating wildly across regions that are normally totally siloed off from each other. Without the CEO micromanaging every single thought, you get this massive surge of gamma waves. The sources note that this specific gamma surge is identical to what's found in deep visionary states, producing profound non-ordinary insight and global neural synchronization. And you get all of this just from using your voice and your breath. Section 5. The Override Protocol. Let's break down the actual steps. The execution comes down to 4 precise steps. First step is the posture. You have to drop your muscular armor, unclench your jaw, and totally let go of physical tension. In Hebrew, this is called rafah, meaning to let drop. Second is the inhale. Draw a slow, incredibly deep breath right into your belly. Third is the growl. You're going to push out a long, resonant exhale while muttering or growling a chosen word or phrase, completely vibrating your internal architecture. And finally, the silence. Just sitting quietly in the ringing, resonant aftermath as your chemistry completely settles. The text suggests doing this systematically through a 7-center ascent. So you repeat this growl 7 times. With each long vibrational exhale, you move your awareness up through the biological centers of your body. You start from the root at the pelvis, moving up through the belly, the heart, the throat, all the way to the crown of the head. At each anatomical level, that acoustic wave is chemically sedating the animal panic and releasing any stored somatic tension you're holding onto. Now, your main takeaway here is how to keep this piece permanently accessible. By creating a physical anchor, like gently pressing your thumb and middle finger together during that deep post-growl silence, you are basically utilizing classical conditioning. Because your brain is currently in that highly suggestible theta state, you're installing a literal hardware shortcut. The next time you feel panic creeping in, simply firing that physical trigger will command your nervous system to immediately recall this exact parasympathetic state. These override mechanics, they aren't something you have to buy. And you don't need to learn them from a guru on a mountain. They are built seamlessly into your bones, just waiting for the somatic key. Your vagus nerve, your sinuses, your neurochemistry, they are all naturally primed for this acoustic resonance, which really leaves you with one final question to consider. Are you going to remain trapped in the endless noise of the default mode network, or will you finally growl, seize manual control, and take your biological tempo back?